school. The next day, Ere Ani reported my missing family to every police station department in the region. She and I also went out to the marketplace to look for them. Thousands of starving war refugees and UN soldiers crowded the market, which was the village hub. Daegu is a medium-sized city in the southern part of Korea. I wonder if I will ever see my siblings' family again, and poor Kyunja, I muttered. I felt homesick. Every day I roamed the streets looking for them. The communists had reinvaded South Korea, but they had not come as far as Daegu.
Hallelujah when she comes, singing ya ya yippee yippee ya, yippee ya, singing ya ya yippee yippee.
UN soldiers patrolled every street to make sure that the city was safe. The children in Daegu knew that there was a war, but they had never seen any fighting. They were scared of the soldiers, but I wasn't. A month went by, and one day I ran into one of my elder sister's friends on the market streets. She was Yumi's classmate in Seoul. "Sumi, where have you been? Your elder sister is looking for you," she said. "You've seen her?" "Yes, Yumi. Jun and Kyunja are all staying at my house." "Thank God," I shouted with joy. "I can't wait to see them." We raced over to her home, and my elder sister embraced me when she saw me. I was reunited with part of my family. It was a wonderful moment. It felt like a miracle. The time had come to say goodbye to Ere Ani. "Are you sure you can make it without my help, Ere Ani? Who's going to pay for your rent and food?" "We have money in our vests," I said. I showed her the vest that my money had made, with money stuffed in the inner pockets. "Your mother thought of everything," Ere Ani said. "I always admired your mother's wisdom. Okay then, go live with your siblings." But Ere Ani helped us rent a place near the marketplace. We were children, but the landlord welcomed us because it was wartime. Refugees from the northern region of Korea crowded Daegu and other southern cities, so it was impossible to find a house for ourselves. We shared a house with 5 other families, and my siblings, Kyunja, and I all slept in one room. I was grateful to be with part of my family, but I felt sorrow and emptiness without my mother. One day, as I wandered through the street, I saw children rushing towards the school. "I haven't been to school in such a long time," I said. I followed the children like a nail trailing behind a moving magnet. We came to an elementary school, and as the children went inside, I followed them and peered through the classroom windows one by one. One classroom had students that were older than me. Another had kids that were younger. At last I found a kid with class with kids my age. I stayed outside in the hallway, but I peered inside through a window. It was math class, and I understood all the questions that the teacher wrote on the blackboard. "Who can solve this problem?" the teacher answered. No one answered. "I can!" I shouted, and I lifted my hand high. All the students looked at me and giggled. I hid behind a pillar. The school principal was passing beside me and saw me. "What is your name?" he asked. "My name is Sumi Kim. Why aren't you in class?" "I'm not a student here." "Go get your parents and have them fill out an application so you can go to class." "But my parents aren't here." "Ah, you have a northern accent. You must be one of the refugees from Seoul. Unfortunately, we don't have space for you in our classrooms." As I walked home disappointed, I told my sister about school, but she warned me not to ever go back. "But Mother said that children always have to learn," I complained. "Sumi, you know we don't have enough money. We have to pay for school. It's not free." "But I want to go," I said. The next day I went to school early in the morning. I stood outside the same class before and waited for the teacher to come. The teacher, an older lady, saw me standing outside and told me to come into her class. I was so happy. "Your name is Sumi, isn't it?" she asked. "The principal told me about you." I nodded my head. "I know what you want to learn, but we don't have any extra chairs," she said. "If you don't mind, you can stand all the way to the back and listen as long as you promise not to disturb the class." I nodded my head with even more excitement. "I hope the principal doesn't find you in here," she said, and smiled. I was glad to be in class, but I found that it was difficult to stand for a long time, and soon I felt tired. I stretched and leaned and changed positions often. Suddenly a boy stood up, turned around, and stepped towards me at the back of the classroom. "Sumi, you can have my desk. I'm strong enough to stand," he said. His name was Young Chu. The teacher and all the students looked at me. I was very embarrassed. "No, I'm okay," I said. "I promise." "Young Chu, that's a kind gesture," the teacher said. "Sumi, have a seat." "Bravo, Young Chu!" all the classmates shouted as they clapped. I sat down at Young Chu's desk. Everybody had pencils at me. Everybody had paper to draw on, but I didn't. Everybody had lunch boxes, but I didn't have anything to eat. Everybody seemed rich, but I wasn't. I nervously drummed my fingers on the desk. "Oh, you don't have any pencils," the girl next to me said. "You can have one of mine." She took a pencil from her pencil case and gave it to me. It was an old and small, but I was grateful. Another girl gave me paper to draw on, and the teacher gave me a used textbook. I had an armful of gifts from my classmates, but I didn't have backpacks to carry everything. So I wrapped my new school supplies in my skirt, making sure not to drop even the smallest thing. "I had a very good backpack in Seoul," I said to my sister when I got home. "Remember? Grandfather gave it to me as a present to celebrate my first year in school. It was made in leather, and it had a picture of the rose of Sharon and a bird on the flap. I miss those days so much." "Don't complain, Sumi," Yumi said. "I can't even go to school." She gave me a large piece of cloth to use as a sack to carry all my school supplies. From then on, I sat in an extra seat between desks. If a student was absent, I would use his desk. I noticed the students had a strong southern accent, and sometimes it was difficult to understand what they said. Even the way they counted 1, 2, 3 sounded different. I struggled with the language for at least a week. One day the teacher asked me to stay after class. "Sumi, we have good news for you," she said and smiled. "The teacher committee has set up a classes for refugees. The school will give you books and supplies for free." I was glad to hear the news. I thought it would be a good chance to make friends with kids from Seoul who spoke the same way I did. I said goodbye to my nice friends in regular class. The teacher guided me to the new school. There was no building, no desk, no chairs, no blackboard. I was puzzled. A man stood up in an empty park and children sat on the ground in front of him. The school was called Seoul Refugee Elementary School in Daegu, a very long name. I was reluctant to stay. It was totally different from the school I'd gone to in Seoul or even the school I'd been going to in Daegu. But I sat down with the other children. I was the only one who had a notebook, a gift from the students in my other class. The teacher was the only person who had a book. So the park was my new school. We used twigs as pencils and drew letters and pictures on the dirt ground. I would erase my markings by running my hands or feet over the dirt. I had the largest notebook in the world and used my brain as a calculator. The breeze and locusts gave constant music in the background. We sometimes sang along with the locusts, and it seemed like they did too. We ran around in the open field in the park during our physical education times. We didn't have lunchtime, and we couldn't stay to class on rainy days. I enjoyed my new school.